Welcome back, everyone. It is June 9th, 2020. It's episode 11 of the Bloomcast. We're here again, still in lockdown, still in our living rooms, our dining rooms, our restrooms. And we are here this week with a great cast. And Mark Vernon just joined us. Thank you for joining, Mark. Let me do quick introductions. I am Luis Buenaventura, founder of Bloom Solutions. With me are Ramon Tayag, CTO and founder of Bloom Solutions. April Albero of Paxful Philippines. Miko Ilas of Binance Filipino. Justin David, COO of Bloom Solutions. Coach M, on cryptocurrency trader and TA extraordinaire. He's going to be joining us for just the first half of the show. Mark Vernon, founder of Tag Cash. Paulo Del Puerto, CEO of Moneybees. And with us in the chat are Archeline from Binance Filipino, Myrtle Ann from Block Tides, and Tony Reyes, Chief Conscience Officer, which is way better, of Bloom Solutions. Okay, so we've got a lot to talk about this week again, and I'm going to start with a really funny little bit of news. This is actually from a user comment we got last week, and we're going to share my screen right now. Let me just get started. Can you guys see my screen already?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. Here we go. Okay, so the question was from last week was, how is China's new cryptocurrency going to affect the impact or the adoption of Bitcoin or other, other cryptocurrencies? So first, let's do some research, right? Because what exactly is going on with China's cryptocurrency? And actually, honestly, the word cryptocurrency, I'm not even entirely sure if it's correct in describing what this is. But let's get into it anyway. This article is from the South China Morning Post. It was kind of from a few weeks ago. So they tried to explain exactly what's going on with China's cryptocurrency. So, because it's the Chinese government, or because it's the government, it's not exactly the most exciting name ever. It's the name they picked is the Digital Currency Electronic Payment Platform, DCEP. It's not exactly the catchiest brand ever. So I'll just read this really quick. Unlike other online payment platforms that are already commonly used in China, the DCEP system supports payment transactions even without an internet connection. The function, called Touch and Touch, allows two users to simply touch their mobile devices together to make a transfer, leaving no payment record with a third party or the banking system. So this is really interesting. It's kind of one of the things that, it's not really possible for other cryptocurrencies to do. With Bitcoin, you can do paper wallets, but at least one of you has to have an internet connection. You can't both not have one. So I don't exactly know how that works. This will be interesting to watch. Here's a screenshot of what their app looks like. I don't speak Mandarin, but I can speak UX pretty well. So I can tell you what these logos are. So this is a scan QR code. This is for sending payments. This is my wallet balance, obviously. And then this is receive payments, because this is how you show your own QR code. And then this is the touch and touch feature. Now, it looks like any other mobile wallet. And, surprisingly, if you've ever seen WeChat Pay or Alipay, those apps are really, really complicated. They have lots of details, right? This one is actually pretty simple. Although maybe it's because it's a very early version of the app, so it's not quite as complicated as the other Chinese payment apps really are yet. I'll read a little bit more from the article, and this is kind of the reason why I was saying that it might not technically be a cryptocurrency. So, according to the South China Morning Post, the DCEP system does not use blockchain technology. theoretically, the greater power given to the PBOC, that's the People's Bank of China, that's like their central bank, would allow it to have more control over the total volume of money supply according to economic conditions. I'll read here, the PBOC issues the DCP. So the central bank is the one that is issuing this new currency, and they give it to commercial banks. So they're not actually giving it directly to the customers, right? So what's actually happening here is that the banks themselves get it, and then from there, that's how the customers get it. So it's slightly different, but I think the reason why they're doing that is because they don't want to make it seem like they are trying to get rid of the commercial banks. Now, based on kind of what you guys have seen here, and I don't know if you guys have done your own kind of research about this before, what do you think about even just calling the DCEP a cryptocurrency? Do you think that that's the correct word or name for this, or do you think that that's probably not even the correct label?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, but to be honest, I haven't done a lot of research in this area. I've read a little bit about the central bank digital currency of the CCP, and to be honest, I think they're just trying to get hype, like they're trying to be a world leader, and for sure, like this is not so. It is not so that they could give their citizens more control over their money, and I suspect this is just a play while blockchain's a big thing to get all U1 holders onto their system and watch the transactions.
This is a much bigger play than just that. Obviously, China has an issue with the US dollar being a world currency. And this is their attempt to try and make the yuan a world currency. Especially since a lot of people trade with China, they can now start using the digital currency. They can get hold of it. My issue is, how do you get hold of yuan on the blockchain? It looks like it's really easy, and they don't. There's no whitelisting, as far as I can see. There's no whitelisting, so you can just buy it on the public market and then pay with it. So in terms of, like, if I wanted to import stuff from China, I just buy it using Bitcoin or anything else. Now I just pay pay the suppliers in China. That cuts out the banks. It basically is way better than the US dollar then, especially if I'm trading with China. So this is their play. The fact that, they're not whitelisting it, so they can't really track who is transferring what. So that control of the I don't know, if you got in that wallet, like your address, you issue it, and this is the KYC that's done for it, then they can. But are they letting anyone just have an address? I don't know enough about it yet.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, only 4 cities in China have this. It's a pilot program, right? So Shenzhen is one of them. That's the only city I was actually familiar with. The rest of them I've never heard of. But so it's not everywhere yet. And they're being
top-tier cities. The 4 are the top-tier cities, but they're big.
Yeah,
but they're like 12, 15 million or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, easily one of them is as big as Metro Manila. I don't know, right? I mean, but the idea is that we're not going to see it across the entire country until sometime next year. Which is, by the way, that is the most aggressive rollout I've ever seen, because lots of other countries have tried this stuff, but they've never done it at the speed and scale as China has.
Would you say something like Kenya's M-Pesa is similar in terms of the speed that they rolled this out? No? That was top to bottom.
Yeah,
any testing.
I'm not sure what I guess with Kenya, like the thing about Kenya was that they had very little other infrastructure to compete with. Like they barely had good banking. It was just not, there was nothing going on there. And
I guess there was no alternative as well.
Yeah. So people were like, oh my God, we suddenly have something. Right. Yeah. So that was a big way to, but like in China, you've got Alipay.
Yeah.
You've got WeChat Pay. Yeah. So
but there's no reason they won't be integrated. So you can fund your wallet using digital currency.
Right.
But I still have this issue of, whitelisting and, addresses belonging to people so the government can track everything.
Yeah.
Without that, they can track the money flows, but if they've opened it right up, it becomes just like cash.
Would you be surprised if there was no whitelisting, or that anyone could create an account?
I think
Yes.
I think they would
For
I think
sure.
they would.
I mean, it's-
For sure. Yeah, it's not an if, right?
Yeah.
but it would be
They
very.
will, and I think that's the perfect reason for them to.
Well, as far as from what I've
that's
read,
why-
you can just have it go into your wallet. You don't have to do whitelisting. That you don't have to register with them to get it. You can just have it in a wallet. That's as far
What
as-
wallet? What wallet? If it's a blockchain, based on what?
Yeah, I mean, I
if
thought
it's decentralized and open, then there'll probably be more than one wallet being created for this, just
Yeah.
like Bitcoin.
Yeah. So I think that there's still some stuff that is not clear, like exactly what the rules are going to be. But what I can tell you right now is that you can only get it if you are receiving it directly from one of the partner banks. So you can't just. You're not just going to be able to get. I suppose you could get it from the open market if someone already had it.
I've got Chinese friends that I can just give them some Bitcoin. They can give me some yuan, and there's no
Some
limit. Like
of
we
this
had this limit.
DCEP stuff, you mean?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Then I can start paying my suppliers over there to buy stuff. But I don't know how this, how does this merge with the $50,000 limit per year export?
Okay.
They can't send more than that abroad. So
Yeah.
there's some questions there.
So I assume that you
this,
haven't hit the $50,000 limit yet.
$50,000 per year is the 50,000 RMB or dollar. I can't remember now.
Sorry, Pao, you were saying.
No. I'm just wondering do you think this is also a knee-jerk reaction to Libra before, right?
No, they were planning this way before.
Yeah.
Way before.
Yeah. This is in response to the US dollar.
Yeah,
more of a
being
US
world
dollar.
currency, and it's China's attempt to, to take over that world system. Especially if you've got world trade, which is denominated in US dollars, and they're being cut out of that, by US president and whatever. It makes sense for them to try and do this, and I'm going to use it. I'd rather use the yuan to pay for things directly than use the US dollar.
Right.
I try. I think that's how much confidence do people have in the yuan as a global
versus
settlement
the US dollar?
currency versus the USD?
I mean, I feel like this question would have had a different answer back in January.
Yes.
Right.
Assuming like even a week, right? The last week's events with the USD. If I still had to choose between the Chinese yuan or the US dollar, I'd still probably choose the US dollar.
Because it was most of world debts are in USD.
Still in USD. They're still very far from unseating that sort
Yeah,
of.
but if you're actually doing trade,
Yes.
you might as well buy in yuan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But there's also a question of why don't they just accept Bitcoin, right? That's what you already have.
Well, that's because most people don't know about Bitcoin, but they will know about it.
So here's a little fun experiment here. It's like most people on this podcast can probably give you a pretty good idea of what the US dollar to Philippine peso exchange rate currently is. I don't know how many of us could tell you
Point, yeah.
Chinese yuan.
7 yuan, $1.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's somewhere in the 7 range, right? Yeah, it's somewhere
But
there.
the thing
in the
is,
7,
it's like,
something like that.
I think this would have, weren't for COVID, this probably, I think this would have had a better chance. I don't know about a good chance, but at least a better chance than they do now. Because now the discussion amongst the world's companies that get most of their stuff from China is they don't want to have a single point of failure like this again. So now they're looking at diversifying. And that means they won't be looking at China anymore, just at China for their supplies. Right?
Well, yeah, but they're still the biggest supplier in the world of most of the stuff. So,
Yes.
we look around, but we can't find the right pricing level or the right.
Yeah, I mean, the scale is hard to
It
beat,
is
right?
not. But how this will affect Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin will grow because of this. So,
Interesting.
especially if you need to fund your wallet around the world, if you want to fund your wallet, one of the easiest way of doing it anywhere is Bitcoin. If you know this in BloomX, you can just say deposit some Bitcoin and give me a rate for currency that I can then use wherever I'm going to use it. So whether that's China, I need to buy yuan. The easiest way for me to do it, since I don't have the banks over there, is to transfer some Bitcoin over. And as long as the rate's competitive, then, well, it's cheaper than the bank system to pay for things.
Miko Ilas, do you think that Binance would support this, assuming that it,
Interesting. Yuan and
the digital, the DCEP, I don't even know how to say it quickly. I think that's the only name that you can say.
whatever.
Well, I can't speak on behalf of
CC. No, that's okay. But
and the rest of the company. The thing about Binance is we welcome collaborations when it comes to digital currencies. So we had we've launched some stablecoins already that are pegged to the USD, British pound, and recently there's one for Indonesian rupiah. So we welcome possibilities like this. Just a matter of technicals, I guess, because I think with the Chinese system, we see that there's blockchain in some parts and no blockchain in others. So it's something that has to be seen before we could make an assessment. So there's that. But I think it is just part of a bigger movement around the world to move their system towards digital, and this shows that there's still ongoing debate on whether blockchain is really needed for this one, because it seems like for some other countries they don't want it, and I guess it's our job as blockchain ambassadors to be able to show that the technology works.
Would you raise the question of why would you do this? Is that one of your questions you're going to put it up with?
well, it's one of the things that we would be talking about. Yeah. I wanted to. So Justin, earlier today, you shared this article about Australia and kind of its rush to going cashless. And like, I guess kind of, as many other countries are trying to do right now, like they don't like the idea of holding paper bills because I guess you could transmit the virus that way or something. And so you actually have to make it clean money. And I wonder if you wanted to like share a little bit about kind of what the findings were in that article.
Of going digital cashless societies.
Yeah.
So overall, I mean, it was a general kind of piece written by ABC, Australian News, and it was comparing what happened in Sweden recently in terms of just the speed at which they transitioned to cashless society. Apparently, majority of shops in Sweden have signs up front that say no cash at all here, that it's all digital, MasterCard or whatever. Right. And a big part of the follow-on effects that they did not intend was that just the number of people that have all of a sudden feel like they can't participate anymore in the economy because they're not digitized. So these would be in general, I guess, the elderly of a community, and also, I guess, new migrants, disabled people with disability. So like people who traditionally, when you're digital, you tend to have more control over your cash, whereas when it's cash, you can kind of just pass that on to somebody and they can buy the goods for you that you need in the store. So that's sort of the in Australia, the consequences that they've been kind of warned against happening. In Australia, they're foreseeing that by as early as 2026, it'll be completely cashless. And not just because of the dirty money kind of thing that's kind of accelerated things, but also citing the cost of maintaining ATMs and physically actually storing cash and seeing.
The cash over there is actually you can wash it. It's plastic.
It's plastic.
Yeah, it's plastic, so you can actually wash it and clean it. That's not really.
So, I mean, in Australia, you can actually, if you deposit or withdraw from a bank in Australia $10,000 or more, you can be prosecuted. Really? They forbid you from withdrawing physical cash that much. So that's a huge kind of push to making people less cash.
Well, when I was living there, almost everything I did was via FPOS. Just the FPOS system, which is
Exactly.
cards everywhere. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So FPOS is what kind of, I guess, the last remnants of people who are still, I guess, passbook and cash-based users in Australia are still kind of relying on FPOS. But eventually that would have to transition into something else by 2026, the article was saying. So yeah, one of those kind of like, I think what the article was trying to highlight was the need for also making sure that the transition period is properly taken care of, making sure that you just don't get these people all of a sudden saying, well, this technology is way too, I'm obsolete for this technology, which is kind of seems like what it implied, like as we digitize and as we transform into tomorrow's kind of world, there will be just people who get left behind. Just kind of like, I guess, against what inclusion is of what.
Right. Yeah. It's the opposite.
Not just that. I think like not long ago, Swish, I believe that's the payment system in Sweden, and it went down, and no one could transact at all, right? So, and this is a problem of centralized systems. It's like once they go down, is your economy gonna grind to a halt? Like it's even 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge problem. And I remember reading an article where they basically acknowledged the problem here and said they wanted to change something. Obviously I didn't follow up. I mean, I was thinking, yeah, it should be something more like Bitcoin, but and then I lost it. But that's a huge problem.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you just check out what certain banks here in the Philippines are doing whenever it becomes super congested, and it's like rather than fixing it, it's more of a, it happens around this time, so avoid doing your banking around this time and just come back.
Or they throw a junior developer under the bus.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
are you going to ask a question of what's the best systems for a stablecoin to be issued on?
We've got a whole segment at the back end of the show about stablecoin stuff, so we can talk about that a little bit more. I actually want to, so I just want to make sure that Coach Eman is still able to make his next appointment. So let's just do a quick transition to the kind of what the markets were doing. So this week has been very sideways.
The red line was not penetrated.
I don't know what happened with that. Yeah. I mean, we started the week 9,500. We're only a little bit over 9,600 something right now. Coach, did you want to talk about this? Did you want to or share your screen or?
Yeah. Yes. Share on screen.
Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
Another episode na naman ng panghula. All right.
Nice. Okay. Don't
Okay.
forget your disclaimer, bro.
First things first, this is not a financial advice, but Mark, Vernon, if you want to buy right now.
There you go.
I am
Bye.
buying right now.
Anyways, sad to say what happened last week, no? So wala ako, pero I was expecting for the price to hold around 10,000 to 10,400 to 10,000 para mas maganda yung pattern niya. But unfortunately, nagkaroon siya ng fake out. So fake out means we are expecting a breakout, and then it was followed up by a huge red candlestick. So just like this one. So ito siya. This is what I am talking about. And medyo, it's a very critical area because if you're going to look at the past, yung recent data, there are resistance tests na very mature na. So there's a probability that it will retrace. So for those who are new in this podcast, or I'm sorry, for this for those who are new in this live stream, when we say retracement, it's a short correction or downturn. So we don't know how far yung pupuntahan ng downturn, but I'm
You said I should buy.
expecting. Yes.
It's trying to get you to prop the price up. That's what it's trying to do.
Yeah. So when it comes to trading, kasi it's a more of probability game. So that's why there's a lot of investor who doesn't want to bother to look at the charts, kasi it's very stressful, especially you don't know what are the criteria that you need to look for when it comes to looking at the chart. So for those who are holding their bitcoins, I recommend, again, not a financial advice, siguro only risk what you're willing to lose. But for those who bought already at mga 300, ayan, congrats, of course. Mark, do you have you did bought
didn't
at
buy last
400?
Yeah, I bought from about 9,500.
9,500.
Okay. It's like $200-$300. That's not bad, right?
Yeah.
But I had a lot of cash tied up in the stock market in Australia, and that's only just starting now to recover. So then I think, and in Australia they're not paying dividends this year, like the companies, the banks, that's it. So you got to take that money out and say where is the best place to put money to make money, and
They just told you you're supposed to put it into Bitcoin. I mean, that's
but how much
literally
of
what
your
it is.
assets do you put into Bitcoin? You know, it's
Wait, but Coach, I noticed you drew an arrow going downwards.
Medyo nakakatakot ba to? Okay, so
I don't know. How big is this arrow?
where does it go?
so the reason I drew a downward arrow, for us to at least have a good expectation for the downturn. Kasi if we have this strong buys with the upside, parang we want to buy more, di ba? So para kumbaga safety precautions na lang siya sa mga nanonood, especially sa mga beginners. So since resistance level ito, and this is our ceiling, okay, aka ceiling, possible na since hindi pa siya nabe-break, we still don't have a huge green candlestick na parang ganito that holds that area. Possible, yung sinabi ni Luis na expect a support at this level, itong 8586, if we didn't break this level. Kasi sobrang mature na nito eh. And especially me, gaya nga nasabi ko, sana nga mali ako na lagi siya bumagsak siya. Kasi even me, I want to have a bull market, no? Mas madali kasi mag-trade doon eh. Sobrang, it's the easiest market to trade and nandun yung pera. Bull market is where the money is made. Kumbaga.
Right, of course. Yeah. Okay.
So,
Interesting.
conclusion, we have a resistance at 10,000. So let's see if we can break this this week. Pero if there will be a downturn for this week, since yung market cap natin, nabawasan siya ng mga 6 billion.
Okay.
So from 276 yesterday, nabawasan tayo ng 270 na lang. So we will see this week kung magkakaroon ng continuation on the upside or downside. So,
Wow. Okay. Coach, do you ever read FX markets also? Because Justin and I had some questions about dollars and pesos.
Okay. As of now, I'm just like what Mark Brennan was saying earlier. I'm focused on day trading on US market because SPY was really outperforming other markets then.
Okay.
Are you following the futures markets for Bitcoins?
Futures market, yes. Futures market. Pero yung CME hindi ko siya pina-follow.
Okay. So, but you're looking at the BitMEX liquidation
No.
prices.
That's what brings the price down.
Yeah, like a lot of this has been going on.
It's like BitMEX gambling.
The BitMEX guys are like, it's a constant battle between the spot market, which is what we're looking at now, and the BitMEX market, which is the futures market. And each time we try and get past this 10,000 mark, these damn whales are like
Sa Telegram ako
everything.
tumitingin. Alam mo yung whale,
Whale alert.
Calls or something like that?
yung pag nagtatransfer sila ng pera.
Yeah.
Twitter whale alert. Yeah.
Whale alert yun.
Yeah,
Tinignan
whale
ko.
alert. Yeah.
So if there's someone who transferred huge amount of money from outside the exchange, that's a sign.
That last week when we were like all joyfully here above 10,100 and it looked really good, somebody, I read somebody quickly highlighted, hey, BitMEX is on that kind of spike again where they're about to all start liquidating their contracts, and happened within like almost a few hours after.
It was very short-lived. That $10,000 bit was very short-lived.
So I just saw that green line says you're going to forecast Bitcoin's going to drop down to 8,700.
3,000.
So then next week, I just want to say, you were right or wrong. Or...
Let's hope he's wrong, because last week we thought we were going to stay above. And so this time,
Every time I
was
predict
wrong.
a bearish direction, I always want to be wrong.
Okay.
I always want
I
to be
want you
wrong.
to be wrong.
somebody's
Yeah,
got to keep
same
a tally
here.
on this. Yeah,
I want to be wrong.
not trading advice, huh?
Coach Eman, when are we going to stop hoping that this breakout is not going to happen, and then we're going to start expecting a downturn in the next few days? Or
Well, that's the thing, no. When it comes to market predicting the price, that's why we have the three pillars in trading. We have risk management and trading psychology, because you cannot really rely on the technical analysis part alone. That's why lagi natin sinasabi, this is not a financial advice, because even me, let's say sinabi ko this is bullish, pero the moment I already done with this our live stream, and then I saw there's a follow-up or confirmation that it will become bearish, definitely I'm going to short it. Pero kawawa yung mga masasabihan natin na, oh, it's going up, right? So,
But this,
ayun, that's why.
this setup right now, where it's going between, say, 9.4 and 9.7,
Yes.
9.750, that's really good for like just trading. You
Yes,
buy,
just
you wait,
trading.
you pay
Retailers.
trade in that short period. Three,
Yes.
three
Yeah, which is
retailers.
why the spot and liquid futures markets are just they're the reason why it's stuck between this kind of.
Well, as a note, I never do leverage trading. It's just too
Yeah.
dangerous.
Yeah, agree. I'm with you on that.
When it comes
I don't
to
know,
market
man. Like,
behavior-
just our spot trading has been exciting enough for me the last couple of days. I don't need anything else. Like, that's all I can handle.
Yeah,
Liz, you mentioned FX trading before, and the Australian US dollar is quite interesting because it was like
Yeah.
155 this time, now 143, and that's in the last couple of weeks.
yeah. No, it's like so the Aussie was at the lowest point just before the COVID, I think, or just after the COVID breakout.
Yeah.
Lowest point ever in like 25 years or something.
Yeah.
And everybody was predicting its doom, and all of a sudden, we
When
are
I
where
did
we
this
are.
cycle, I did this 15, 16 years ago or something like that, where I borrowed a lot of money at 155 the dollar, and I knew that parity was coming. Well, I assumed it was, and it just happened a lot faster than I thought. So it's good to make money on FX, especially on the Australian market. And that's dependent on Australia, on the Chinese. So the Chinese buy a lot of iron ore, they buy all the commodities. So the better China position, the better Australian market is, and that's where right now it's the same thing. It's happening again.
What are we looking at here, Coach?
Yeah, right.
At tinignan ko lang yung AUD-USD. So we're looking
Australian dollar,
at AUD-USD.
Yeah,
So
there it
if we're
is.
going to compare it to other market, it has the same behavior. For example, SPY. So we're expecting sana na parang it will continue its downturn, pero di pala si Erlich. Sabi ko saan si Erlich eh. So there was this huge hedge fund manager. He was so bullish sa US stock market.
Is that Ehrlich from Silver?
You don't mean Erlich Bachman.
Yeah,
from Silicon Valley.
sabi ko, it's not Erlich Bachman na.
Fictitious character.
It's funny. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Not that guy. Not
Ayun,
that guy.
Adrian Bachman. It's not Erlich Bachman.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Do you
Yeah.
think FX changes affect the price of Bitcoin on trading much, or not linked?
It's not correlated with the AUD, but with USD.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
That's why it's very interesting that you guys discussed the yuan. It's very interesting if you can see the yuan pairs that will be listed on Binance. Miko, there's other pairs na, di ba, on Binance? Like
Yeah,
you guys have euro.
We're increasing fiat to crypto pairs. I think
Directly.
so there's Nigerian, there's I think Naira, there's Turkish, Alira. Depends actually on
Yeah, my exotic pairs, right?
But are they tokens? Are they tokenized, or those are the actual fiat?
actual fiat. Yeah,
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah.
You take in
Whoa.
actual fiat?
You don't have to rely on the USD.
and they can deposit. I think they have arrangements with partner companies that allow the deposit of crypto.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's how you got the Naira in there. Okay.
Naira, Turkish lira.
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
So when
Wow.
are we going to get
And of
back?
course with Binance US USD because they have licenses.
Yeah.
Yeah, are we going to get back into the stable coins now?
Yes,
Wait,
Mark, we will.
And then
Before
first,
Coach Eman leaves, there's a question from Aldrin. I think is that his name? Aldrin Rabino. Yeah. So his question is, what if we base on the fib retracement probabilities only? I'm not sure if I understood that question.
So he was referring to the strategy itself. To the tool, he was referring to this tool, the Fibonacci retracement. So the thing with Fibonacci retracement, it's a good tool for measuring the price movement. For example, this one. If we're going to plot our Fibonacci from here to here, it represents the 100% movement of this price from 3,700 to 10,400. So if you're going to use Fibonacci alone, it will give you a couple of fake outs and other misleading, let's say, signal. So why? Because you need, number one, you need a trending indicator for you to be able to ride those swings, especially if you're looking at a smaller time frame. But I don't recommend using only Fibonacci. You should use it at least 1 to 2 indicator and look for a couple of confluence like support and resistance, or let's say moving average confluence. So you need to look for factors, and of course, there's no such thing as perfect strategy. That's why you need to compile your statistics. Which one is working? Which one is not working? Which one is working this kind of market behavior? Which doesn't? So yeah, it's all about numbers.
Got it. Okay. Okay. I hope that answered the question of Aldrin. Thanks for the question. If there are
Thanks,
any
Coach.
other questions in the chat, please just feel free to ask. And if it's within our realm of understanding, we will attempt an answer. Coach, are you still okay for time, or do you need to get moving now? Or let me know lang.
Gusto ko lang i-plug yung US market kasi they're really very strong. Sobrang lakas ng performance ng SPY, especially SPY, Nasdaq. And the moment BTC starts to have a huge retracement, for example, what I'm referring to is this one, yung from 10,000 to 36 real quick. Possible na it will create another behavior in the next coming information or next coming pattern. So just be cautious when trading, like especially for those who doesn't bother risk management, right? Price doesn't move on a straight line, but sometimes it does, parang ganito. So,
Wow.
price doesn't move on a straight line, but sometimes it does, parang ganito. So, manage your risk and also understand where the money flows. Let's say from money starts to, ano bang maganda term? Plowing ba? Parang kung saan sila pumunta, it will give you an edge in surviving this type of markets.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Okay, thanks so much for that. We've got the next half of the show to get to. This is the part that Mark has been basically been bugging me the last week and a half. Coach, are you okay? Are you okay
Yes,
with
yes,
this segment? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining
Thank
us
you.
this week.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, good luck with
Next week.
what you're doing. Yes, we'll see you again next week. I think who took notes about what he was saying, so we can kind of check check what happened next week against the market.
Well, we can rewind the one next week.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Oh yeah, this is recorded.
He said it's
Exactly
going
kung ano
down.
yung
It's going
sinabi.
down. It's going down.
Mali ka, coach.
8-7 ang support, di ba?
Sorry. We're all happy if he's wrong on this one. If it goes up instead of down.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's gonna get too upset at that.
That's true. Okay.
Anyways, thank you guys.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you,
All right,
guys.
see you again next week.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let me share my screen again. Go. That. Okay, so this week's Bloom School segment is again another user question from a week ago. Like what's actually going on with this whole stablecoin thing? What are they? What are they meant to do? How do they work? And so I have a couple of slides here, but I actually want to kind of, I know that Mark has some pretty strong opinions about this. So let's go through it really quickly, and please jump in whenever you want. I've tried to make some very, very simple definitions here, just so we have some foundational stuff. So stablecoins are a type of cryptocurrency, but unlike Bitcoin or Ethereum, where the value of the Bitcoin or the Ethereum just floats, like it can change over and over again, many, many times a day. Stablecoins, the point of them is to maintain a particular value against a particular currency. So obviously, a lot of these stablecoins are following the value of the dollar. So 1:1. They're also usually issued by an organization or a company, and we'll talk about some of those later. They have very low volatility because ideally, assuming that the tech works, they are 1:1. And oftentimes, they will operate on top of existing blockchains. So the very, very first crypto is this one. The very, very first stablecoin is this one. This is Tether. It was actually originally built on top of the Bitcoin blockchain. It still kind of works on the top of the Bitcoin blockchain, but it's no longer dependent on it. It uses Ether and other stuff also.
There's no reason you can't have a stable coin on multiple blockchains.
That's true. As is proven by, right? So they're currently existing on 3 blockchains. The Omni versions on Bitcoin, there's Ethereum, and then there's Tron. Yeah. So, okay. And just like last episode, I wanted to do pros and cons really quick. And if any of you disagree with anything that's here, or if you think that something's missing, please jump in. Because I did this kind of very quickly this morning, and it's not meant to be extensive. It's just meant to kind of give just a fundamental understanding. So Tether is meant to have 0 volatility, and 0 is in air quotes here because it's not exactly 1:1. Sometimes it's close but not quite. Sometimes you're off by a few cents. It's very familiar. Like we were saying earlier, most people on this podcast can tell you to the centavo how much the current USD to PHP exchange rate is, and Tether will follow that. So Tether right now is somewhere between 49.98 and 50.02, which is kind of the US exchange rate. Tether is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, I think. I actually think it might be the biggest in terms of liquidity. So it's traded by the most exchanges, it's handled by the most people. Most, if not all, crypto traders will use Tether. So it's very easy to get in and out of it. Those are the pros. And then the cons are, one, you have to trust the foundation that issued it. So in this case, the Tether is issued by the Tether Foundation, which is one of the companies that was founded by the Bitfinex founders. So Bitfinex is one of the really big exchanges, and so Bitfinex and Tether have had a very intertwined history because, and I'm trying to say that kindly, politely, yes. So there's been some controversies there, but I will say that
the main controversy, you have to say it, is that do they have the money,
right?
Banks to match the tokens they've issued, and I don't think they have. But
so that is kind of one of the cons, right? So because you basically have to put 100% of your trust in the organization that is issuing the tether because the audits are not required. So they don't have to tell the world, hey, there's 100 million tether out there or whatever it is. Therefore, there must be $100 million in our bank account. They don't have to say that.
And they're not government regulated, so they don't. There's no one to tell them to find out exactly what's happening. So I don't trust it personally.
Correct. And for a long time, we like Bloom as a company tried to avoid using Tether as much as we could because of those same misgivings, right? Because we were not completely comfortable with using Bitfinex or the kind of the way that they were not being very transparent. That being said, it's almost impossible to be a crypto trader in this day and age and not have some exposure to Tether because it's so easy to have it, right? It's so easy to get it. And unlike normal US dollars, which is a little bit more challenging to move around the world, Tether is a little bit more straightforward. So that's the main reason why you're...
Does Binance support USDT? I can't remember.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
for sure.
We do have our stablecoin as well.
You got to push your stablecoin, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Because Bitfinex is a competition, and they've issued their own. You've issued your own. You've issued yours under a government license, though, haven't you?
Yes. So the thing with BUSD, and I think this is the case with a lot of the other stable coins that have been created. I think with the other alternatives, they are either decentralized. I think DAI is one.
Yeah, we've got that at the very end of the presentation.
Okay. Okay. Am I preempting if I'm gonna?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. So like right now the Tether alternatives that are ranked like number 2, number 3, number 4 in terms of market
volume and cap.
Yeah. Would be a USDC, Paxos, and BUSD, and I think there are a couple more that I can't remember.
Where are you at in the list?
Yeah. And anyway, at least in the case of BUSD, we tried to address, we addressed actually a lot of the concerns that are with Tether. So we partnered with Paxos on that one, and which means that we are, more or less the contract here is that you're more assured that the supply out there is 1:1 with the US dollar deposits, and of course it has to be because it is regulated by the New York Department of Financial Services. So that's another like safeguard that's put in there to make BUSD a good alternative in terms of being in the stable coins.
So do you do the regular audit then? Is there a regular audit or something that shows like how much capitalization you actually have or something? Like how does that work?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to look into. There's an auditor that's involved with this. That would conduct regular audits on the amount of crypto and USD that's involved in the process, and just going to search it for a bit.
Okay.
Let me get back to you on that.
All right, that's fine. It's okay. I was just actually curious because like I can tell you that we've never actually used any other USD pegged stablecoin other than Tether. So it's not that we're not open to trying them. I'm sure that given that if they are exactly the same in terms of liquidity or availability, if they are from an organization that we are a little bit more comfortable with, then I guess that we would probably be okay with that. Are there any more thoughts about this slide? I guess the last con that I listed here, volatility is the same as the currency backing it, meaning that it's US dollar, right? So if the US dollar is going badly, then so will Tether. But that's kind of I guess that's the point. It's meant to simulate one of these existing currencies. So if the currency that you are simulating is doing badly or doing well, then you're kind of you're just getting taken along for that ride.
I have one comment.
Yes, please.
Tie it a little bit back to central bank digital currencies. If everything else were pretty much equal, right? Like you had a US CBDC and then you had Tether. I would easily choose the US government CBDC because you don't need to trust the issuer anymore, right?
Interesting.
Like that level is gone, and that actually amounts for a lot, right? That made you avoid it for a while.
I have a feeling that in 10 years' time, all central banks will have issued their own currencies on some kind of chain.
Yeah, you're probably right. Also, I mean, if they make it easy enough and it's like the legal framework is there, why wouldn't they, right?
I mean, hopefully, like they don't go KYC heavy. I mean, that is the reason
That's
why
an
people
issue.
like,
That's a big issue. Yeah.
like USDT. You can just move it without anyone's permission, right?
Yeah.
Look, if you're going to deal with cash, you got to print it out. And how do you track it? How do you track how much money is underneath a mattress? You know, at least this way you can figure out how much money is in circulation, what the velocity is.
Right.
There's a lot you can do. And if you don't, obviously you can track it just like you can Bitcoin. But if you throw in the KYC there, lack of privacy, then you're going to have some pushback against it.
Okay, awesome. Hey, Arshilin, I hope you're still there in the chat. Because since we're talking about Tether right now, I feel like it's probably a good idea to do the at least one of the Tether raffles right now while we're still talking about Tether, because we're actually raffling Tether off. So I wanted to do this here, so I can bring this here right in front of us. And then we are going to, sorry about the advertisement. Oh no, I forgot the drum roll.
Oh no.
Oh no.
It's
like a
So it's merciless.
Pluto rigged.
That was so that was an official result, and it's recorded on the blockchain, so we can no longer. It is immutable. We can't go.
Yeah. Whose blockchain is it? Yeah, that's the question. Who's auditing that blockchain?
This raffle app is built on top of the Tag Cash blockchain. So.
No wonder.
There is no such thing anymore. By the way, Lewis, I can give away 1,000 pesos of pesos stablecoin.
Oh, sure. Awesome. Okay. But can we save that for the next show? Because I wanted to do another.
Oh, okay. Fine. But no, since we're talking about stablecoins.
No. I mean, I actually think that there's enough information here that we might actually do another one.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But okay. So let me move on to the next.
Give away 2,000 instead.
Oh. There you go. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I wanted to talk about a couple of other different types of stablecoins. So the first one was pretty simple. Dollars back it. So that means that if there's $1, there's one tether, right? But there's another one entirely where it's commodity backed. So this one, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this logo, by the way. So this is the Digix logo, DGX is their symbol. So they're gold. One token of Digix is 1 ounce, 1 troy ounce of gold. That's
on Ethereum, right?
They are built on top of Ethereum, yes. But they're kind of their own token. It seems like if you look up commodity-backed stablecoins, they tend to be the first one that shows up. Maybe because they're the ones that have worked the hardest to be visible. So what are the pros of this? It makes it so that a normal consumer can make an investment in these kind of small assets like gold or oil or whatever, even if you can only afford like $10 or $20 worth. So it's interesting. It makes it so that even if you have a very small portfolio, even if your portfolio has a total value of like $1,000, you can diversify into a whole bunch of different things by buying into, 1 or 2 Digix. There's, this is a bad example. This is the first one that came to mind, but like a couple years back, Venezuela actually issued its own stable coin called the petrodollar, and that was backed by oil. That was actually revealed to be kind of a scam. So obviously don't do that. Don't invest in that. But that's kind of the one that immediately came to mind because they were so visible at the time. No? So the government pushed out this whole petrodollar campaign. It was mostly because their economy was doing badly, so they really needed to get more money into the economy. And I don't think it worked all that well. But this type of stablecoin has kind of the same challenges as the first one. You still have to trust the issuer because, again, audits tend to be voluntary. The other thing that you really need to bear in mind is physical delivery is not a thing. And what that means is that, like, just because you own one token that corresponds to 1 ounce of gold, that doesn't actually mean you're going to be able to get a delivery of that gold. No, that's
I'll give you an example that I've actually done on this.
Okay, sure.
And that was for silicon, basically silicon deposits, where the guy owns 2 of the biggest mines in the world in Canada, and that's about 18 billion tons of silica rock.
Okay.
So it costs about $120 on the market, and the value does go up and down, but it's not that volatile. So then you buy that, and then you've got to process it. You've got to dig it up and process it, which has a cost to it. But you take that as the base commodity, and we'd issued silica currency coins that you can then use as a base to build other activities around it. So that's a classic case of a commodity that that you can prove that you own.
Right.
But if you want to turn it into the real thing, which they are doing as well, you can turn up with the token and say, I'd like that, and then you pay for the digging it up, etc. At least you have that if you really want it. So it's quite interesting. But my biggest issue was, how do you prove it beyond a doubt?
Right.
And that's a hard thing.
Yeah, I mean, with gold specifically, especially gold mining in this country, in many countries actually, that's a very heavily regulated, very, very bureaucratic kind of industry, and very heavily politicized. So for someone to say that your 1 Digix token is equivalent to 1 ounce of gold, and there's no question that that is the case, that's a big promise to make.
It could be anything. You could be, you own the Mona Lisa, and then you say, I'm going to issue a currency with that backing it. That you can prove that you've got it, and that's backing. But you can't actually keep it. It's got to be held in escrow somewhere, so that you can't sell it and then back it. So
right.
It's quite interesting, commodity backed, but what commodity?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I don't really have a lot of experience with these particular types of stablecoins. This is more of to me, it's very theoretical because I've never really found the need to buy, for example, barrels of oil, even from a technical standpoint.
If you're in the commodities market, it is actually it's a big thing to do.
Yeah. Right. Does anyone else here have any experience with these commodity-backed stablecoins, or is it something that? Okay, all right. I figured that would be the case, actually, because this was kind of new for me also. And then the final type here is what we call crypto-backed stablecoins. And this one kind of blows my mind every time I think about it. So Miko mentioned this earlier. So this is the logo of DAI, this one here, DAI. And this is built on top of the Ethereum blockchain also, but it is not Ethereum, right? The DAI is meant to simulate the US dollar, but there are no US dollars backing it. In fact, the things that are backing this DAI are other cryptocurrencies. And in theory, you could simulate any currency using this system without actually having that currency in your bank or wherever. You don't actually have to have it on reserve. And the reason why this blows my mind is because you're backing something with something that is very, very volatile, because like Bitcoin, Ethereum, these have wild fluctuations in price. So how would you know that your 1 Bitcoin, or say your 1 Ethereum, could back $200 worth of DAI? I couldn't really understand that. So I spent a lot of time reading the white paper and trying to understand how it works. It is possibly the most complicated thing I've ever read. And,
works.
But it seems to work. It seems to work, right? And one of the reasons why it seems to work is that they've managed to even issue interest rates to the people who are holding it.
And that's part of the reason why the value stays similar, because they use compound, compound interest rates where you're lending and selling.
And someone
lending and borrowing, and that's what helps.
So the value more is on the interest rates.
Yeah. Could someone explain to people who aren't familiar in the least bit about just a very simple mechanics of how it works?
I'm not sure if that a simple explanation is possible, but let me try. So you do have to. So you put your Ethereum into what they call a vault, and that is meant to symbolize that you are collateralizing your DAI. So let's say you put just one Ethereum into a vault, and so there's a given price, and whatever that value is at the time, that is the number of DAI that you get. Now, if the price of Ethereum goes down, there are a whole bunch of different steps of things that will happen that will allow you to bring it back up, the value of your vault. But I've never seen it happen in practice. I don't know if you can explain it a little better than what I just said, Mark, but it seems like there's a lot of mechanisms in place that will try to keep the value of the vault roughly the same as when it started.
When I got into it, and I had the same issue as you, as like I was getting into it. And I've talked to guys from MakerDAO, DAO, and they have a governance mechanism to make sure that things are working on, to keep it level with the dollar.
Yeah.
But the algorithms are being tweaked and tweaked over the last few years until it's very accurate, stays at $1. When I pay my developers in DAI, it's easy to buy. And I don't have to trust any back end for any entity. So I trust the technology, just like I trust the technology of Bitcoin. And maybe if you really want to get into it, fine, but you don't need to. You just know it works, and lots of people use it.
Yeah, I think the thing that surprised me the most was that the people who are holding it, they're holding it because they actually earn a little bit over time.
Yeah.
And I think the annual interest rate is like 6% or something. That's not
good.
Nothing. That is actually possibly the best interest rate that you can get outside of some.
But the risk here is that you can end up being forced to liquidate your collateral, right? Like if the price drops too much. Like for example, when you deposit that one Ether, it's at $200, and then I don't know how many DAI or whatever you get out.
Yeah.
But they have a certain level that if Ether, let's say, drops to $50 instead, then you end up liquidating.
This happened when the market crashed in March, right?
Yep.
Where we lost 40%, 50%, and everybody's collateralized ETH or whatever else token they were accepting got liquidated. And what happens when this happens with DAI, I understand, this is where there's an exploitation of the system, or somebody took advantage of it, was the collateral gets sold off as well in auction, and somebody can buy it off. And basically, a lot of people, like in your example, $200, when you get called, so the price of your ETH drops 50%, you also pay fees. So really, the original, your collateral, what was 200, became something like, at that time, like 130 or something. It was very low compared to what you originally had. And somebody's able to buy this on auction right away.
There's an auction. There's also an auction at the end of it.
For the collateralized amount.
Yeah.
And somebody basically bought a shit ton of collateralized ETH and under the DAI network and made a lot of money. But he didn't. This wasn't everybody criticized it because it seemed kind of exploitive, but it was within the system.
That was the protocol of the system.
Exactly.
It's like these companies like BlockFi where you give them money, you give them Bitcoin, right? Let's say one Bitcoin at $10,000, and then they'll give you $5,000 in cash or something like that.
Well, I do that.
The price drops
for lending.
Yeah.
And then they sell it.
Except this is it's striving. Actually, we had this conversation earlier. They are striving to be decentralized in their approach. So there's no single foundation making the choices for who.
Hey, look, it's early days, so it's really good.
You're right. Fair.
They got to tweak until it works really well. It's another alternative type of stablecoin that I like. But I don't know if you're going to ask this. What is the purpose of a stablecoin? And I can give you three reasons, and perhaps others can have as well. One is programmatic. So in Ethereum, you can make smart contracts, but if you start putting in, if you don't complete this contract, this building or whatever, then you have to pay a penalty. and it's automated already in the contract. If you pay Ethereum to a company that's not really in the crypto, it doesn't work that well. So if you put a stable coin that maybe is issued on Ethereum, you can actually lock that in. Real money locked in that people understand. So that's one side. The other side is, the second one is remittances. You know this, when you're sending Bitcoin from Europe, you've got the volatility of buying and selling it. Mm-hmm. So if you have for us, we've issued pesos as a stable coin, both on Ethereum and Stellar. But Ethereum, it's a bit easier to control because of government regulation and so on. But someone in Europe can now buy that ahead of time and transfer it instead of going by the bank. It's cheaper. Mm-hmm. And the third one is you got programmatic, you got remittances. What's the third one? I can't remember now. Exchanges. Like we have with Binance. So if you want to get your money into an exchange that you want to deal with, moving fiat, like for example, you want to trade PHP against something, you can't really do it right now because over here you can't move your money abroad. Not in PHP, but as a stablecoin, you can suddenly put your money and whoever's pushed it out, whether it's Nigerian Naira or PHP, put that out into an exchange. Now you can start trading in it and then pull it back as PHP and then cash out. Right. So those are my three main reasons. What's yours?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say it's like your last. It's traders like using it when let's say they feel like it's gonna go down. They move out their stable coin, take a breather, let it go down, buy back in, etc. Without that, then you would have to wire it back here, right, or something.
Right. I mean, the wiring costs plus the fact that you won't be able to do it, plus your bank might close it down if they don't like you trading. This just allows it to be maybe slightly out of the system, but controlled still. Yeah. And then depending on the issuance, we're quite restricted here with issuance of PHP. Whereas the DAI is completely open and anyone can own it. Right. So there's quite a bit of variety on the different stable coins out there. But I mean, the usage, people have asked me, do you think this is going to help in, getting Philippines going cashless? And no, because the costs are still there. Unless I can issue PHP on Stellar, which is, you can get 1 million transactions done for $1. But then, people can build on top of that and build solutions out there. But I don't know. I don't think the central bank here will actually be able to do that.
Paulo Gilberto of Moneybees. Can you tell us about how you guys do you guys use stablecoins much in your own trading? What's that like for you?
Yeah, it's a way for you to, as Ramon said, to park if you think that you want to take a breather. In the volatility, right? So it's like a hedge, right? So pretty much that's it. But there are some that are actually selling USDT to us as well, or buying USDT. I think it's more of them. Those are the ones that are actually cashing out or cashing in into exchanges. So pretty much. It's mostly USDT.
Do you want to do anything with pesos?
Yeah, of course.
But then it wouldn't be holding it would be using it.
Again, we can't talk about it here because they'll get Bloom will get a feral fee.
I mean, feral fee's not that high.
You can do the breakout rooms now.
Okay.
But why not, right? So
I mean, I think that if you were a trading desk, your job is to support as many of these different currencies as you can, because your job is to allow the market to flow through your trading desk. Okay. So yes, Mark, we are happy to try your stable PHP.
Of course.
That's fine. Okay. Did anyone else have any thoughts about this? So the DAI thing I kind of want to go back to, because I feel like the main thing is that I feel like organizations like MakerDAO are looking at countries like the Philippines and seriously trying to figure out how to make their stablecoin usable given our situation. And our situation is a bunch of different things. It's like we could be remittances, as Mark was saying.
Yeah, but it's tough. The BSB is going to come down on it. because they're just not as open as perhaps the Chinese government are right now.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. But the fact that you can actually get hold of some Chinese yuan on a blockchain without actually having to do KYC, you can't do the same here. So if DAI issued a PHP over here, you can see the central bank would take some kind of action.
What else
So,
are they going to
so
take?
you feel like they would differentiate DAI from, like, say, just Ethereum? Like they would say that we're not into DAI, but we're okay with Ethereum?
No, I mean the PHP, the fact that you issued PHP and it's being used.
Yeah,
if it was used a lot, they would step in.
Mm-hmm.
They would step in.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
one question I think that we should answer here is also like, why do these exist, right?
That's what I said. That's why I asked.
Yeah, right. So and I don't know. Maybe we can delve a little bit deeper there. And I suspect, and I'm fairly sure I'm correct here, is that all the regulation that the world has placed and made it so difficult for people to transact with banks essentially made the euro dollar thing a thing, right? It made it popular. So the euro dollar, I was doing some reading like a month ago. I always thought it meant like dollars in Europe or something, but it essentially means dollars outside of the US. And it became popular because the US couldn't like interfere. For example, if the US wanted to sanction a country, then they just freeze their accounts that are held in New York or something like that, right?
Because all money was flowing through America first.
Yeah, because they had to go through the US.
Oh, that's the SWIFT system, yeah.
But with the euro dollar system, it didn't anymore. However, the US still owns the SWIFT system. And so this is like the next step, right? It goes even further and they can't control it at all.
I mean, the US could still do stuff, right? They could do embargoes on certain countries, treaties, if they really wanted to impose economic restrictions.
They fire at a company like mine. If I issued a US dollar currency and it started being used in America, the systems over there would reach out to the banks over here and say, we don't like what they're doing, close this account.
Yeah.
And they would do it.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe I shouldn't have said they can't, but it's like an order of magnitude.
Yeah.
So
DAI, you can't touch it. You can't touch it.
Right. Now you cannot.
Can you
They
touch
can go after
Tether?
USDT, which they did.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, they did that with what is it? The crypto capital, right?
But the thing is, like, I think the more they do that, it's like they're going to continue shooting themselves in the foot in the long run because
Bonuses will come
it'll
out.
push the innovation further out into things more like DAI. Right?
Or
And if
DCEP.
Right, if DAI works, because I need to have at least be able to explain it to somebody, feel comfortable using it.
Yeah, no. So I'm with you. I
Yeah.
can't bring myself to use a crypto that I don't understand top to bottom.
For sure.
Wait a minute. Lewis, you use the peso every day. Do you understand fully how the banking system works and how it works?
The difference between the fiat system and kind of where I'm at with crypto is that with the fiat system, I was born into it. So you kind of just accept that was status quo because this is the generation that we belong to. With crypto, there is the need for you to understand it more because you're making a leap into something that's very new, right? And very ambitious. So like if I'm not completely comfortable with Bitcoin, it took me a couple of years before I was, comfortable enough to really take the leap. With DAI, I feel like it's also going to take a couple of years, especially based on their white paper.
With DAI, for me, it's just a usable currency. So I'm not going to hold on to it.
Okay.
I'm going to buy it as I need, use it to pay for something.
Right.
And it's not something I hold for,
Right.
even if you make 6%, I can make more than that with other investments. So, you should hold it. Bitcoin,
You'd be speculating on the dollar, wouldn't you? Which is kind of like,
right
why
now,
would you need
no.
to do that necessarily?
My specular,
Well, it's
Australian
cheap right
dollar
now.
might speculate, but not the US dollar.
Okay. April Albero, does Paxful have any plans of integrating any of these stablecoins ever? Like, I know that, you guys are big on Bitcoin, but like, are we ever going to see this?
Are you ever going to
on
put my
Paxful, do you
PHP
think?
stablecoin in there? So we
Take it easy, Mark. Like this isn't this isn't your sponsored episode yet. Hold on.
Well, but I don't think I can speak about it yet, but maybe.
Okay. Can you talk about that a little bit more? Because I don't know your founders personally or anything, but based on what I see of what you guys are doing on Twitter and social media, there's a very, very big social responsibility component to Paxful, like with building schools in Africa and stuff like that. And I've always liked that about what you guys are doing. I'd like to see if how does like stable coins kind of fit into that, no? Because
it's still kind of for me, what you guys are discussing right now is information overload personally, because I don't understand everything, so I'm basically just a viewer here, just listening to you. But yeah, there is there is some plans about this, and it's happening really soon. And yeah, that's why, because this is what our users have been wanting since way back, and we're making it happen.
Nice. Okay, well, that's good to know. There you go, Justin. Now we have another liquidation channel for Tether.
Wonderful.
You didn't mention which currency. Is it USDT or Tether or?
Actually, it would be quite funny if it was like the Nigerian Naira from Binance. Then it was like, wow, okay, that would be completely unexpected. So speaking of unexpected, I guess we should do the last raffle. So one more raffle, and then we're good to go for the night. We only have 2 winners tonight. The first one, this Myrtle Ann Ramos person, I don't know who she is. Just someone in the chat. I'm sure she's very happy with.
Hey, I'm here.
Okay. Okay, well, she's here. Darn. Okay. Okay, so let's do this. I still don't have my drum roll, but we're just gonna have to kind of imagine it in our hearts and minds. Nice.
Again?
This is really, I told you this blockchain needs to get audited.
Yes, really nice. Congratulations, Arsh, Eileen.
We can reroll, I guess. It's okay.
Yeah, I think I could have gotten away with Myrtle, but I'm not sure I could have gotten away with Arshali. Okay, so we're gonna re-roll this one.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Arshi.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's just you have to blame the Tag Cash blockchain on this one. I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't have a blockchain.
Okay, here you go. One more time, guys. One more
It's going to be
time.
you next.
I hope I win.
Okay, there you go. It's Satoshi's brother.
That's a real name.
Long lost brother of the creator of Bitcoin. Do you feel like they
Or
would
sister.
be offended? Or sister, or sibling of the creator of Bitcoin. Do you feel like they would be offended if we gave them Tether?
No.
Okay, is Eka Nakamoto in the chat? So we have to look for that person. Archie, can you help me find?
Yeah.
He's actually connected to Jason Chu.
Oh, cool. Oh, okay, all right, great. There you go. Wow, and he had just tuned in when he sent that comment in, and he immediately won money.
Luis, in
okay.
Tagalog, can I say Nakamoto Ako?
Yeah, sure, if you want.
No, I'm saying, is that the way you say it, is it?
I am.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess you could just say ako si Nakamoto.
Ako si
right?
Nakamoto.
Ako si Nakamoto, yeah.
Ako si Nakamoto, except that still doesn't make sense because no one would believe
That's
you.
why I don't speak
Go ahead.
Tagalog. This is why I don't speak Tagalog, right?
Okay. All right, so we had some very, very random winners this episode. It was completely random, I assure you. The results are infallible and immutable. We thank you very much for viewing. I want to come back next week, and if there are other user questions about this particular topic, I'm actually happy to do a little bit more. With some of the more complicated stablecoins, might deserve a little bit of real deep down discussion. But let's see how it goes. And obviously, Mark, if you want to sponsor the next,
I'm going to give away some money in.
Oh, there you go. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, yeah, sure. How about you? I'm happy to discuss a topic that you feel would be appropriate. Let's just not do any cartoons and stuff like that. Just let's see where we go in the next topic. Okay, so we are out of time. Let's do a quick round of goodbyes. April Albero, thank you so much for joining us this week. Where can people find more of you and your startup?
Thank you so much for having me again, even though I'm just a viewer here, because lots of information for me. So check us out, paxful.com. We're a peer-to-peer Bitcoin platform where you can easily buy and sell Bitcoin. And then you can also join us in our Telegram community. It's called Paxful Filipino Community. So we have lots of games and activities there. So join us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Miko Ilas, I avoided asking you this earlier. You don't have any planned announcements, do you?
Just stay tuned on June 12th, Independence Day, on these channels. Facebook.com/Binance Filipino. We also have a Facebook group, Facebook.com/group/Binance Filipino, and on Telegram, t.me/Binance Filipino. Just search Binance Filipino on Facebook and Telegram, and you'll get there.
Awesome. So we have something to look forward to from you guys on June 12th.
June 12th, Independence Day, guys. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and I think we'll all be just sitting in our homes doing nothing, kind of like just any.
Yeah, it's a holiday.
But it's a holiday. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Paulo Del Puerto, where can people find more of you and your company?
Yeah.